What's going on, guys? Everett 13 here. Today I've got the ProTech Mixed Strider Design SNG. This particular SNG is a Northwest Knives exclusive. Okay, it's got black aluminum handle with a OD green blade, and that blade steel is 154 cm. Real quick, gonna run over some dimensions, get those out of the way. You've got a handle of 4.75 inches, blade of 3.5 inches, and the overall length on this guy is 8.25 inches. I'm on the fence about this. I'll come right out and say that I'm not. I'm just on the fence now. I'm going to lead off with this is a well-made knife. Okay, this is a high-quality knife. Of course, this is a collaboration with ProTech to bring you the Strider Design SNG in a push-button auto configuration. Now, I'm not really going to get into ProTech so much in this review as I am going to be getting into the design of the knife. ProTech is well established in the push-button autos, got a very good reputation there. They make good stuff, USA company. I did a trade for this guy, and I've had this knife now for about a week, and I was very excited to get this in. You know, whenever I started my knife journey, I, always wanted two knives. I always wanted a Chris Reeve Sabenza and a Strider Design, SNG, SMF, and I never thought I would actually have one. And this is still a very much a Strider knife. It's just in a push button auto configuration. There's a train going by right now. I apologize for that. But this is still a Strider knife, right? This is a Strider SNG, just in push button configuration. And so when I traded for this guy, I was very excited to get it in hand. Very, very excited. And as soon as I got it, I was a little, like I said, I'm on the fence about it. I've had some revelations about it, but I was a little, I'm not going to say underwhelmed, but it's just not quite what I was expecting is going to be the best way to describe it. A little bit about me. I work in an office setting, okay? I love, knives, guns, but at the end of the day, I work in an office setting. And so this knife is, I think, very much a tactical knife, right? I mean, it's a big knife. That's not so much of a deal, but it's a, I've got a lot, this pocket clip, right off the bat, I carried it the other day and just had a ton hanging out the pocket. I mean, that's a lot of blade hanging out, or not blade, but that's a lot of, the end of the knife hanging out of your pockets if you're in slacks, right? And so, I carried it though, and I kind of had the revelation then that this is not really an EDC knife for the typical average user. Now, what this is, and what I do believe it does very well, is this is going to be a knife that's going to be, as part of somebody's kit. And, if you're a police officer, maybe a military, I could even see, EMTs carrying something like this, because you've got fast action to get it, in a situation where you need a knife and you need it fast. You've got a fast action there, and you've got a design here that really lends itself to, really a reverse grip. And that was another revelation I had. I was holding this thing and I was like, well, this portion here really kind of digs in, in the normal grip. Now you can choke up on it and it kind of, that becomes more comfortable, but it's still not as ergonomic even then as you would think, right? But you switch this thing around to a reverse grip and all of a sudden it kind of all makes sense, right? You've got this big massive thumb ramp here. It's going to keep you from slipping over onto the blade. It's going to protect your fingers, because you got a ton of purchase on this jimping, on this really massive thumb ramp here, right? And so I flipped it over and I was like, hey, this is really comfortable in this fashion. Now you get a flat neutral surface there, and it kind of made sense. And I said, hey, this is okay. I think I get it now. This is a more of a tactically designed knife, right? Not so much as your not so much designed for your everyday use for the average Joe, you know. And so I had that revelation, and I think whenever you start to look at it from that lens, the design starts to make a whole lot more sense, you know. Now all of a sudden, having this much knife sticking out of your pocket or wherever you're carrying this makes sense, you know, in a high stress situation. If you've got a deep carry clip and you're trying to fumble around and, you know, in a high intensity situation, that may cost you precious seconds, right? Whereas now if you've got this much hanging out of your pocket, same high stress scenario, you're going to get there and I think you're going to find something to purchase, get a purchase on to get the knife out should you need to deploy it in that situation. And then whenever you factor on the fact that this is a push button auto, it kind of is going to eliminate some of the human, you know, variable. All you got to do is hit a button. This thing is rocketing out. And so while I think it's a good design, but it's a design that's built, I think, for or designed around a very specific purpose and use. And so for that reason, I don't really know if it's something that I'm going to carry a whole lot. I'll probably keep it in the collection, and I certainly would like to have a you know, an actual mixed strider blade, you know, but it was a surprise to me, you know, and I wanted to kind of get some of that you know, get some of that out to, you know, my opinions out for other people to kind of have at their fingertips to make a decision if they're looking at this knife or this design, you know, because it was kind of a surprise to me. You know, I saw it, loved the design, you know, the way it looked, right? And but once I got it in hand, there were so many things that kind of I was like, you know, this just doesn't make sense a whole lot in a typical EDC fashion. Another thing that kind of you know, I'm a little on the fence about is kind of some of the dimensions. Okay, so this knife is the exact same length overall as an XM18. Let me try to get everything in frame here. Right, they're the exact same. Now I know from this perspective it may look like the XM18 is a little bit longer. That's just kind of the camera angle. So I mean, in fact, look, I'll flip them around and you can see they're now the Strider looks, or the SNG looks a little bit bigger. You know, but they're the exact same. But now the XM18 has, you know, this kind of curved handle. It's a lot more ergonomic in a everyday fashion, right? You know, now I can use this thing in a normal grip, and I don't have that weird little hot spot here. But if I do need to, for whatever reason, flip it around into a reverse grip, I still have a thumb ramp, right? It's a smaller thumb ramp, but I still have one. And in addition to that, I'll also have the flipper tab kind of serving as a double role now, a double function as kind of like a guard, right? To keep me from, you know, slipping onto the blade and damaging or injuring my fingers. So, you know, in most scenarios, I think if I had these two knives, same exact size, I would probably pick up the XM18, you know, every time. It just makes more sense. You know, I can use it everyday carry for normal task, and also for whatever reason, if I had to, you know, use a reverse grip, I've still got a very good grip, very good secure grip because of the jimping, and like I said, the finger guard here that's the flipper tab is kind of serving as in that reverse grip. Another thing, I guess I need to keep this out, is the blade. So you've got kind of this weird, it's an oddity to me why they did this. So there's a sharpening choil and then a finger choil. And so what happens is you've actually got, even though you got a 3.5 inch blade, you only have about 2 7/8 inch. You've got less than 3 inches here of actual cutting surface, right? You've got less than 3 inches. What I really would have liked to have seen on this, now I'm not the designer, right? But what I would have liked to have seen is something like this, right? Take this grind further back and just have the finger choil also double as the sharpening choil. That would give you a little bit more cutting edge, and you're still getting the best of all the worlds, right? You're still getting a finger choil, you're still getting a sharpening choil, and now you also have just a little bit more edge, cutting edge. In fact, it's kind of I say funny or odd, the Strider design SNG here is a good bit bigger here than this Medford Smooth Criminal, right? There's a significant difference here. And funny enough, the Medford actually has more of a cutting surface here than the Strider does, this SNG design, right? It's a much bigger knife with less cutting surface. And so there's just some things, I guess, about the design that, like I said, I like to let off with, I'm kind of on the fence about, is the design good? Yes, right. It's a good design, but I think it's very specifically designed. And because of its a very specific design, I think it's going to excel at the tactical, tasks, of course, very well. But I think the cost of that is, for a normal EDC type task, it's, you're getting less cutting surface. You're taking up way more real estate in the pocket. It's got a lot hanging out of the pocket. There's just some things about it that I think don't lend itself to being a good everyday carry knife for a typical person. That being said, there are many things about this that make it an excellent everyday carry knife for somebody who's in a law enforcement or military type setting. So that's not, a good or bad. It's just, you've got to make the determination that if you're going to spend this kind of money on a knife, is it going to, have the qualities that you need or that are beneficial to you in your typical day-to-day scenario, whatever that may be. If you're working in an office or something, this may not be the guy for you, right? You're a police officer, or on the SWAT team or whatever, this may be the guy you want in your pocket. You may want this in your kit because, it's got a lot of other features that are very well suited for that environment. So, that's my thoughts on the SNG design. I really wanted to put this out there because, like I said, this was the Strider design was always a grail knife of mine, and I'm not knocking the design at all. I don't want it to sound like I am, but what I am doing rather is pointing out some observations that I had that I didn't have until, I got this knife in person. It's one thing seeing something on the internet or seeing some images of it and really liking the design. And look, I mean, this is a good looking knife. I love the way this looks. But it wasn't until I got it actually in my hands that I really realized that as good as this thing looks, I don't know if it makes sense for me to carry every day. And, that's something that I think is important. Now, at the end of the day, I do like to collect knives. And so while I may not carry this thing every day, there's a good chance I'll keep this or a Strider of some design, whether it's SNG, SMF, in the collection, right? But I can almost guarantee you that I'm not going to carry this as much as I'm going to carry something like an XM18. I feel like this design just makes a lot more sense for me personally in the environment that I work in. Maybe this one makes more sense for you. And so, guys, that's what I wanted to do. Just wanted to put the information out there because at the end of the day, it's your money. And, you've got to, maybe this is, you've got to save up for a purchase like this. And so at the end of the day, I want to put the information out there, to make these things known to you, because I certainly didn't have this realization about the design, or I didn't know these things about the design until I actually got it in my hands. And so maybe this information will help somebody else who's looking at this and maybe considering this as an everyday carry. It could be great for you. Then again, it could be kind of subpar, depending on what you do daily with your knives. That's it, guys. Just gonna wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and take care, guys.